contentious part of the president's plan to increase taxes by $350 billion is a plan to get rid of tax breaks for college savings, known as the 529 plans. So how does this jibe with the president's claim that he's for the middle class? Joining me now to talk more about this, Sabrina Schaefer, Independent Women's Forum Executive Director and Forbes contributor, and Patrick Leeson, Americans for Tax Reform Director of State Affairs. So, Sabrina, I don't know how many times the president said it. I didn't count it up, but he said middle-class economics. I'm for middle-class economics. Middle-class economics. Then he tries to kill one of the very few tax breaks that the folks in the middle get. The folks at the top, they get all kinds of tax breaks. They can afford the lawyers and the accountants. At the bottom, they don't pay taxes at all. It's the middle class that's really squeezed. And this was one of the few good tax breaks we had. Now he wants to get rid of it.
Right. I mean, this one really hurt. And look, America has this long tradition of self-improvement. So the idea that we would go after college savings as part of this, austerity, suddenly, the president's trying to raise more money again, it really goes at the heart of the middle class. It goes after the American dream. I really find it repulsive.
Now, Patrick, there is a dispute about who this benefits, this 529. I know a lot of people solidly in the middle class who take advantage of it, but the White House claims that 70% of these 529 accounts are held by folks by household incomes over $200,000. One could argue that that's in the upper end, not middle class, but the Government Accounting Office says that over 50% of these accounts are held by people under $150,000, which clearly is the middle class. So who's right? Who's telling the truth here, the White House or the GAO?
So when the White House says that this is a tax relief provision that would predominantly help upper incomes, that is just factually inaccurate. Point of fact, 95% of the households that have these college saving plans, they make less than $250,000, and that has always been President Obama's definition of the middle class. And the other thing I'd point out is this would tax the earnings from these 529 savings plans at rates as high as 39.6%, and the tax would be owed by the student. And to make matters worse, just to add on, this is the height of hypocrisy. Back in 2007, then Senator Obama and Michelle Obama put $240,000 in Sasha Malia's 529 college savings account. Now, so what they're saying is this is basically tax relief for me, but not for thee. Apparently, this is good for them, but other shouldn't be allowed to save like this, and they should
Sabrina,
rely
it's
on
even
debt.
worse than that. It's even worse than that, because what the president and his wife did, by the way, they split that $200,000 for $120,000 each so that they could get in under the wire. They had it all planned out. Some lawyer was helping them with all the tricks of this trade, and they front-loaded the benefits of the plan. In other words, even if the president gets rid of the benefits that eventually accrue once you withdraw your plan, they front-loaded the benefits. So it's as if he knew he was going to do this.
Exactly. And how dishonest to the American people. You know how many parents and grandparents and family friends set up these kind of accounts to help members of their own family? And I can't stand this idea that if you are too wealthy, suddenly you shouldn't be allowed to save for this. Presumably, people have worked their way into those income brackets. They have put away money because of things like college that they are then able to earn more. We want to be able to grow the pie for everybody. This is not a zero-sum game.
Patrick, I was amazed when I heard that. I thought I'd made a mistake, that maybe I misheard the president or misread something, because this is such a popular program. But if he can go after this, the 529s, which most Americans clearly love, what's to stop him from going against an IRA account or a Roth account or something like that?
Well, that's the eventual goal of the political left. That's why it's so important to fight this first step down that path. And look, I don't begrudge President Obama and his wife for using these vehicles. I just say it should be allowed for all Americans, especially middle-class Americans. And another thing to look out for is how this might affect the ABLE Act, which creates 529 savings plans for families with disabled children. It remains to be seen if this would take away the benefit for them. And if it did be quite indefensible, it's just the latest example of this White House's arrogance, out-of-touchness, and frankly, insularity.
Well, Sabrina, the hypocrisy sort of reminds me of all those people arriving in Davos. I think there were over 1,000 private jets there. And what's the first agenda? The disparity between the rich and poor. Climate change. How much did that emphasize that hypocrisy?
Yeah, and this president has been out of touch so many times, and especially on the issue of education. Look, it was early on when the president said that he was going to cut the D.C. Opportunity Scholarship Program from the budget, just as he's sending his daughters to one of the wealthiest private schools here in Washington. So he has a consistent record on sort of taking really great education for his family while rejecting that possibility for many, many other Americans.
All right, we got to leave it at that. Patrick Gleason and Sabrina Schaefer. We should mention, by the way, you can see more of Sabrina and me on Forbes on Fox. That's tomorrow and every Saturday on Fox News Channel at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We got a great show planned for you this Saturday. And we asked you if the president is helping or